Jae-sung stood on a hill, looking down at the city below. The tall buildings of the Neuron capital were broken and burned. Smoke still rose from some places. It had been 2 weeks since the big fight ended, but the damage was clear to see. Jae-sung was a human. He didn't look like the Neurons. They were tall and thin, with blue skin and big eyes. Jae-sung was shorter, with light brown skin and dark hair. He wore a blue uniform that showed he was a diplomat from Earth. As he watched the city, Jae-sung thought about how he got here. It all started 6 months ago. The Neurons sent out a call for help across space. They were being attacked by a mean alien group called the Tsar. The Tsar wanted to take over the Neuron planet. Earth heard the call. Humans had just started to travel in space, but they were good at fighting. They decided to help the Neurons. Jae-sung remembered the day the human ships arrived. The Neurons were losing badly, but the human ships turned the battle around. Now, the Tsar were gone. The Neurons were safe, but there was a lot of work to do. Jae-sung walked down the hill towards the city. As he got closer, he saw Neurons and humans working together. They were clearing broken buildings and fixing roads. Some were planting new trees where old ones had burned. A voice called out, "Jae-sung, over here." He turned and saw Su-min waving at him. Su-min was a Neuron scientist. She had been working with the humans since they arrived. Jae-sung liked her. She was smart and always eager to learn new things. "Hello, Su-min," Jae-sung said as he walked over. "How is the work going?" Su-min's big eyes looked tired, but she smiled. "It's going well. The human machines are very helpful. We're fixing things much faster than we could alone." Jae-sung nodded. He was glad the humans could help, but he knew some Neurons were not happy about it. They were scared of the new things humans brought. As they talked, a loud noise came from nearby. They turned to see a group of Neurons yelling at some humans. The humans were trying to set up a new communication tower. "Stop," one Neuron shouted. "We don't want your strange machines here." Jae-sung sighed. This wasn't the first time this had happened. He walked over to the group, Su-min following behind him. "What's the problem here?" Jae-sung asked calmly. An old Neuron stepped forward. His name was Ta-won, and he was a leader of those who didn't like the humans. "We don't need this tower," he said. "Our own ways of talking are good enough." Jae-sung tried to explain. "This tower will help us talk to ships in space. It will keep your planet safer." But Ta-won shook his head. "We were fine before you came. We don't need human things to be safe." Su-min spoke up. "Ta-won, please. The humans saved us. Their help is good for us." The argument went on for a while. In the end, Jae-sung agreed to wait before building the tower. He would talk to more Neuron leaders first. As the crowd broke up, Jae-sung felt tired. He knew there would be more days like this. Helping the Neurons rebuild was not just about fixing buildings. It was about building trust, too. Later that night, Jae-sung sat in his small room. He was writing a report to send back to Earth. He wrote about the good things, like how many buildings they had fixed. But he also wrote about the problems, like the argument today. As he wrote, Jae-sung thought about the future. The Neurons were safe from the Tsar now, but there were still challenges ahead. How would the two species learn to work together? Would the Neurons accept human help in the long run? Jae-sung didn't have all the answers, but he knew one thing for sure. Humans had answered the call for help. Now they had to prove they were worthy of the Neurons' trust. It would be hard work, but Jae-sung was ready for it. He finished his report and looked out the window. The Neuron moons shone brightly in the sky. Tomorrow would be another day of rebuilding, of learning, of working together. Jae-sung smiled. Despite all the challenges, he was excited to see what would happen next. The next morning, Jae-sung woke up early. The sun was just starting to rise over the Neuron city. He put on his blue diplomat uniform and went outside. Today was going to be busy. As he walked down the street, Jae-sung saw more humans than before. They had come to help rebuild the city. Some were fixing houses, Others were teaching neurons how to use new machines. It made Jae-sung happy to see them working together. He met Soo-min at a big building in the center of the city. It used to be a school, but now it was a place where humans and neurons could learn about each other. They called it the Cultural Exchange Center. "Good morning, Jae-sung," Soo-min said with a smile. Her blue skin looked brighter in the morning light. "Are you ready for today's lessons?" Jae-sung nodded. "Yes, I think so. I hope the neurons like what we have to show them." They went inside. The main room was full of neurons. They all looked curious and a little nervous. Jae-sung and Soo-min stood at the front of the room. "Welcome, everyone," Soo-min said. "Today, we're going to learn about human food." Jae-sung opened a big box. Inside were many strange things the neurons had never seen before. He took out a round, red object. "This is called an apple," he said. He cut it into pieces and gave some to the neurons. They looked at it carefully before tasting it. One neuron named Q1 took a big bite. His eyes got wide. "It's sweet," he said, "and crunchy." The other neurons tried it too. Some liked it, some didn't, but they were all interested. Jae-sung showed them more foods: bread, cheese, and even some spicy curry. The neurons were amazed at how different human food was from theirs. After the food lesson, it was time for the neurons to teach the humans. Soo-min brought out some neuron musical instruments. They looked like long, thin tubes with holes. "These are called flue whistles," she explained. "They are very important in our culture." A neuron named Eunji showed the humans how to play. The sound was high and clear, like birds singing. The humans tried to play too, but it was hard. They made funny noises that made everyone laugh. As the day went on, Jae-sung felt good. The neurons were enjoying learning about humans, and the humans were happy to learn about neuron culture too. But not everyone was happy. In the afternoon, Tae-won came to the center. He looked angry. "What are you doing?" he asked loudly. "Why are you teaching our people these human things?" Jae-sung tried to explain. "We're just sharing our cultures. It helps us understand each other better." But Tae-won shook his head. "You're changing our way of life. First, you bring your machines. Now you want to change our food and music too." Some of the other neurons looked worried. They didn't want to make Tae-won angry. Soo-min stepped forward. "Tae-won, we're not changing anything. We're just learning. Isn't it good to learn new things?" Tae-won didn't answer. He just looked around the room with a frown. Then he left, slamming the door behind him. The room was quiet for a moment. Then Q1 spoke up. "I like learning about humans," he said. "It's interesting." Others agreed. They asked Jae-sung and Soo-min to continue the lessons. Later that evening, Jae-sung and Soo-min sat outside the center. They were tired but happy. "I think today went well," Jae-sung said. "Except for Tae-won." Soo-min nodded. "Yes, he's scared of change. But many neurons are curious about humans. They want to learn." Jae-sung looked up at the stars. "There's so much we can learn from each other," he said. "I hope we can keep doing this." "We will," Soo-min said confidently. "It might be hard sometimes, but it's worth it." As they sat there, more neurons and humans walked by. Some waved or said hello. Jae-sung smiled. This was just the beginning. There was still a lot of work to do, but he felt hopeful. Humans and neurons were starting to understand each other better. And that was a good thing for both worlds. A week after the cultural exchange, Soo-min was working in her lab. It was a big room full of strange machines and old neuron things. She loved studying the history of her people. Soo-min picked up an old stone tablet. It had weird symbols on it that no one could read. She had found it in a cave near the city. As she looked at it, she noticed something odd. "That's strange," she said to herself. She saw a small button on the side of the tablet. It was hard to see if you weren't looking for it. Soo-min pressed the button. Suddenly, the tablet lit up. Strange lights danced across its surface. Then, a hologram appeared above it. It showed a star map of the galaxy. Su-min gasped. This was big. She had to tell someone. She ran out of her lab to find Jae-sung. Jae-sung was at the Cultural Exchange Center. He was teaching some neurons about Earth animals. When he saw Su-min run in, he knew something was wrong. Jae-sung, you need to see this, Su-min said, out of breath. They hurried back to her lab. Su-min showed Jae-sung the tablet and pressed the button. The star map appeared again. Jae-sung's eyes got wide. Wow, what is this? I don't know, Su-min said. But look here. She pointed to a part of the map. There was a big red area. It was moving slowly towards where Nearest was. That doesn't look good, Jae-sung said. He frowned. We need to figure out what this means. They spent hours studying the tablet. Jae-sung used special human tools to scan it. The scans showed that the tablet was very, very old. It was made thousands of years ago. As they worked, they found out more. The red area on the map was called the Void Collective. In the old Neuron language, it seemed to be some kind of enemy that the ancient Neurons knew about. This is scary, Su-min said. If this map is right, the Void Collective is coming towards us. Jae-sung nodded. We need to tell others about this. But we have to be careful. We don't want to scare everyone. They decided to talk to the Neuron leaders first. But when they got to the leadership building, they found Ta-won there. He was arguing with other leaders. The humans have been here too long, Ta-won was saying. They should go home now. We don't need them anymore. Jae-sung and Su-min looked at each other. This was going to be hard. They showed the leaders the tablet and explained what they had found. Most of the leaders were worried, but Ta-won saw it differently. This is perfect, he said. If there's a new enemy coming, we can ask the humans to leave. We need to prepare on our own. Su-min was upset. But Ta-won, the humans can help us. Their technology is advanced. We might need them to fight this Void Collective. The leaders argued for a long time. In the end, they decided to keep the discovery a secret for now. They would study the tablet more before telling everyone. As Jae-sung and Su-min left the building, they felt worried. They knew this discovery could change everything. What do we do now? Su-min asked. Jae-sung thought for a moment. We keep working, he said. We need to learn more about this Void Collective, and we need to show the Neurons that humans and Neurons are stronger together. Su-min nodded. She looked up at the sky. Somewhere out there, an ancient enemy might be coming, but she felt a little better with Jae-sung and the other humans here to help. That night, as the city slept, the old tablet in Su-min's lab kept glowing. The red area on its map kept moving slowly. A storm was coming, and Nearest needed to be ready. The next few days were very busy for Jae-sung and Su-min. They spent a lot of time studying the old tablet. They learned more about the Void Collective, but there was still much they didn't know. Jae-sung knew he had to tell Earth about what they found. One morning, he went to the human base outside the city. There was a big communication dish there that could send messages to Earth. He sent a long message explaining everything they had learned. He asked Earth to send more help, just in case. Then he waited for an answer. While Jae-sung was doing this, Su-min was talking to her people. She went to many meetings with Neuron leaders. She tried to explain why they needed the humans' help. The Void Collective sounds very dangerous, she told them. We don't know much about them, but we know they're strong. We should work with the humans to get ready. Some leaders agreed with her, but others, like Ta-won, didn't. We don't need humans to protect us, Ta-won said. We can do it ourselves. Maybe this Void Collective isn't even real. The arguments went on for days. Su-min was getting tired and frustrated. One day, she met Jae-sung at the Cultural Exchange Center. They both looked worried. How are things going with your leaders? Jae-sung asked. Su-min sighed. Not good. Many of them don't want to believe there's danger coming. What about Earth? What did they say? Jae-sung smiled a little. I got a message back. They're sending more ships to help us, but it will take time for them to get here. Just then, they heard shouting outside. They ran out to see what was happening. A big crowd was in the street. Some Neurons were yelling at a group of humans. The humans looked scared. "Go home." One Neuron shouted, "We don't want you here anymore." Jae-sung and Su-min pushed through the crowd. They saw Tai-1 at the front, leading the angry Neurons. "Stop this," Su-min yelled. "The humans are our friends." But many in the crowd didn't listen. They kept shouting and pushing. Suddenly, a loud noise came from the sky. Everyone looked up. A bright light was falling towards them. It looked like a shooting star, but it was getting bigger. The crowd got quiet. They watched as the light came closer. Then they saw it wasn't a star. It was a ship. The ship landed in a field near the city. It was sleek and silver, much fancier than the other human ships. A door opened, and a woman stepped out. She wore a shiny uniform with lots of badges. She walked towards the crowd. "I am Captain Jisoo," she said in a strong voice. "I'm here to help protect Neurus." The crowd was silent. Even Tai-1 didn't know what to say. Jae-sung stepped forward. "Captain, welcome to Neurus. We're glad you're here." Captain Jisoo nodded. "We got your message about the Void Collective. Earth takes this threat seriously. We're here to work with the Neurons and get ready." Su-min felt relieved. Maybe now her people would understand how serious this was. Tai-1 looked angry, but he didn't say anything. He just turned and walked away. As the crowd started to break up, Jae-sung, Su-min, and Captain Jisoo went to talk. They had a lot to do. "We need to make a plan," Captain Jisoo said. "And we need to do it fast. The Void Collective could be here sooner than we think." Jae-sung and Su-min agreed. They knew the real work was just beginning. But now, with Earth sending help, and Captain Jisoo here, they felt more hopeful. As they walked to the leadership building, Su-min looked at the sky. Somewhere out there, an enemy was coming. But now, humans and Neurons were starting to work together to face it. She hoped it would be enough. 2 weeks passed since Captain Jisoo arrived. The city was busy with humans and Neurons working together. They were getting ready for the Void Collective. One quiet morning, alarms started ringing all over the city. Jae-sung woke up quickly and ran outside. He saw people looking up at the sky, pointing and yelling. In the sky, there was a big dark ship. It was bigger than any ship Jae-sung had ever seen. It looked like a huge black cloud. Jae-sung ran to the command center. Inside, Captain Jisoo was giving orders. Su-min was there too, looking worried. "What's happening?" Jae-sung asked. "It's them," Captain Jisoo said. "The Void Collective is here." Suddenly, a voice came from everywhere. It was deep and scary. "People of Neurus," the voice said. "We are the Void Collective. Your planet is now ours. Do not fight us." Everyone in the command center looked scared, but Captain Jisoo stood up straight. "We will not let them take Neurus," she said. "Get our ships ready." Human and Neuron ships flew up to meet the Void Collective. The sky filled with lights as they started to fight. On the ground, Jae-sung and Su-min had a job to do. They ran to Su-min's lab to get the old tablet. They thought it might help them understand the enemy better. As they ran, they saw Tai-1. He looked angry and scared. "This is your fault." He yelled at Jae-sung. "You brought this danger to us." Su-min stopped. "No, Tai-1," she said. "The Void Collective was coming anyway. The humans are here to help us fight." But Tai-1 wouldn't listen. He ran away towards the city center. In the lab, Jae-sung and Su-min studied the tablet. Suddenly, Su-min saw something new. "Look," she said. "There's a pattern in the Void Collective's attacks. They always hit the same spots on a planet first." Jae-sung looked excited. "That's great. We can use this to guess where they'll attack next." They quickly told Captain Jisoo about what they found. She used the information to move their ships to the right places. The fight in the sky was hard. The Void Collective had very strong weapons, but the human and Niran ships were faster. They worked together well. On the ground, things were scary. Some smaller Void Collective ships landed in the city. Strange, dark creatures came out. They looked like shadows that could walk. Niran police and human soldiers fought the shadow creatures. It was hard because normal weapons didn't hurt them much. Jae-sung and Soo-min kept studying the tablet. They hoped to find a way to beat the shadow creatures. "Wait," Soo-min said after a while. "Look at this symbol. It means light in Old Niran. Maybe that's their weakness." They quickly told everyone to use bright lights against the shadow creatures. It worked. The creatures disappeared when hit with strong light. The fight went on all day and all night. Everyone was tired, but they didn't give up. In the morning, something amazing happened. The big Void Collective ship started to move away. The shadow creatures on the ground disappeared too. A cheer went up from the city. They had won the first battle. But Captain Jisoo looked serious. "This is just the beginning," she said. "They'll be back." Jae-sung and Soo-min nodded. They knew she was right, but they had learned a lot from this first fight. "We'll be ready next time," Jae-sung said. Soo-min smiled at him. "Yes, we will. Together." As they looked at the sky, they saw human and Niran ships flying side by side. It was a good sign. They would need to work together to face what was coming next. The Void Collective was still out there, but now humans and Nirans knew they could fight them and win. 3 days after the first attack, the Void Collective came back. This time, they'd brought many more ships. The sky turned dark with all the big black ships. Jae-sung and Soo-min were in the command center with Captain Jisoo. They watched as the enemy ships got closer. "This is it," Captain Jisoo said. "The real battle for Niuris starts now." Alarms rang all over the city. Human and Niran ships flew up to meet the enemy. On the ground, soldiers got ready to fight. Jae-sung looked worried. "There are so many of them," he said. Soo-min nodded. "But we're ready this time. We know more about how to fight them." Suddenly, they heard a loud noise outside. They ran to the window and saw Taiwan. He was talking to a big group of Nirans. "See," Taiwan shouted. "The humans brought this war to us. We should make them leave." Some people in the crowd agreed with him. They started to shout too. Soo-min looked upset. "We need to stop this," she said. "We can't fight among ourselves now." Jae-sung agreed. They ran outside to talk to the crowd. As they got there, they saw shadow creatures appearing all around. The Void Collective was attacking the city again. The crowd got scared. They started to run away, but Taiwan didn't move. A shadow creature came right at Taiwan. He was too scared to run. Jae-sung didn't think. He ran forward and pushed Taiwan out of the way. The shadow creature hit Jae-sung instead. "No!" Soo-min yelled. She grabbed a bright light and shone it at the creature. It disappeared. Taiwan looked surprised. You saved me," he said to Jae-sung. "Why?" Jae-sung stood up slowly. He was hurt, but okay. "Because it's the right thing to do," he said. "We're all in this together." Taiwan was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded. "I was wrong," he said. "We do need the humans. How can I help?" Soo-min smiled. "We need everyone to work together. Can you help organize the people?" Taiwan nodded again. He turned to the crowd and started giving orders. People listened to him. Up in the sky, the battle was hard. The Void Collective ships were strong, but the human and Niran ships worked well together. They used what they learned from the first fight. On the ground, things were tough too. Shadow creatures were all over the city, but now everyone worked together to fight them. Humans and Nirans stood side by side, using bright lights to push the creatures back. In the command center, Captain Jisoo was leading the fight. She gave orders to the ships and the ground forces. "We're holding them off," she said. "But we need to do more. We need to stop them for good." Jae-sung and Soo-min looked at each other. They had an idea. "The old tablet," Soo-min said. "Maybe it has more information that can help us." They ran to get the tablet. When they brought it back, they studied it carefully. After a while, Jae-sung saw something. "Look here," he said. "It shows a weak spot on the big Void Collective ships." Soo-min looked closely. "You're right. If we hit that spot with a strong enough light, it might stop the whole ship." They told Captain Jisoo about what they found. She quickly made a new plan. "We'll use our biggest ship," she said. "It has the strongest lights, but it will have to get very close to the enemy to work." It was dangerous, but it was their best chance. Captain Jisoo called for volunteers to fly the mission. Many humans and Neurons stepped forward. They were brave and ready to help. As the battle went on, everyone watched the sky. They saw the big human ship fly towards the main Void Collective ship. The enemy shot at the human ship. It was hit many times, but it kept going. Finally, it got close enough. A huge bright light shot out from the human ship. It hit the Void Collective ship right in its weak spot. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the big enemy ship started to fall. A cheer went up from everyone in the city. They had done it. The main Void Collective ship was defeated. The other enemy ships started to leave. The shadow creatures disappeared. Nearest was safe, and it was because humans and Neurons worked together. The day after the big battle, the city was quiet. Everyone was tired but happy. They had won against the Void Collective. Jae-sung walked through the streets. He saw humans and Neurons working together to clean up. They were fixing broken buildings and helping hurt people. He met Soo-min at the Cultural Exchange Center. She was smiling. "We did it," she said. "We really did it." Jae-sung nodded. "Yes, but there's still work to do. The Void Collective is still out there." They went to a big meeting with Captain Jisoo and the Neuron leaders. Everyone was there, even Tadawon. Captain Jisoo stood up to speak. "We won a big battle," she said. "But the war isn't over. We need to be ready for what comes next." The leaders talked about what to do. Some wanted to build more ships. Others wanted to make better weapons. Everyone had ideas. Taewon surprised everyone when he spoke. "We should ask Earth for more help," he said. "The humans have proved they are true friends to Nearest." Jae-sung couldn't believe what he was hearing. Taewon had changed a lot. Soo-min stood up next. "I have an idea," she said. "The old tablet helped us beat the Void Collective. Maybe there's more we can learn from it." Everyone agreed this was a good idea. They decided to make a special team to study the tablet. Jae-sung and Soo-min would lead the team. Over the next few weeks, humans and Neurons worked hard. They built new ships together. They made new weapons that used bright light. They got ready for the next attack. Jae-sung and Soo-min spent a lot of time with the tablet. They learned many new things about the Void Collective. One day, they made a big discovery. Soo-min was so excited she ran to find Jae-sung. "Look at this," she said. She showed him a part of the tablet they hadn't seen before. Jae-sung's eyes got wide. "Is this a map to the Void Collective's home?" Soo-min nodded. "Yes. And look here, it shows a way to close the space they come from. We could stop them for good." They quickly told Captain Jisoo and the Neuron leaders about what they found. Everyone was excited. "This could end the war," Captain Jisoo said. "But it will be very dangerous. We'll have to go to their home." They made a plan. They would send their best ships to the Void Collective's home. Jae-sung and Soo-min would go too, to help with the tablet. The day of the mission came. The ships were ready. Humans and Neurons stood together, ready to fly into danger. Before they left, Tadawon came to see them. "Be safe," he said, "and thank you for everything." The journey was long and scary. They had to fight many Void Collective ships. But finally, they made it to the enemy's home. It was a strange place. The sky was dark, and everything looked like it was made of shadows. Using the tablet, Jae-sung and Soo-min found the right spot. They told Captain Ji-soo where to go. The final battle was hard. The Void Collective fought with all they had, but the humans and Neurons were ready. At the last moment, when everything looked bad, Soo-min figured out the final piece. "We need to use all our lights at once," she yelled. Every ship turned on their brightest lights. The dark world of the Void Collective lit up like a sun. There was a loud noise, and then silence. The Void Collective was gone. Their world closed up, never to open again. The trip back to Neurus was happy. Everyone was excited to share the good news. When they got home, there was a big party. Humans and Neurons celebrated together. They had faced a great danger and won. Jae-sung and Soo-min stood together, watching the party. "What happens now?" Soo-min asked. Jae-sung smiled. "Now we keep working together. There's so much humans and Neurons can learn from each other." Soo-min nodded. She looked up at the stars. "Maybe someday we'll go out there together, humans and Neurons, exploring the galaxy as friends." As the party went on, everyone felt happy and hopeful. The future looked bright for both worlds. And it all started because humans answered a call for help.